Okay, we're live. So welcome again, and got a few friends together, and I think we'll just start with just introducing ourselves to ourselves and the viewer. I'm Richard. I'm in London, and I am very happy to hang out with friends who all share this openness, this common home, and. Okay, so Karen, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm in Holland, and I've been involved with the Headless Way for about 3 years and something, I think. And yeah, it's wonderful. It helped me a lot to get the arrow straight in, last bit home, doubtlessly. That's good because this mind is always putting a doubt here or there. Haven't I missed anything? Well, this experimental method is good for that, just to erase any doubt left. And also, I said this morning in another hangout, what I like to repeat now is that this form of meeting, all you guys and other friends, others friends, from all over the world, just so easy as sitting on my couch and clicking on my computer, and there you are, and then having a discussion about my favorite subject in life, which is this, this origin. That is like a dream come true for me, that it's so easy and so available. So, thanks. Great.
Thank you, Karen. Charlie?
Yeah, hi, I'm Charlie. I'm in Canada, and I guess a little over 4 years ago I was cruising the internet looking for something, and I stumbled across a link to the Headless website, and just started reading it a little bit, and the link to the first experiment is right there. So within a few minutes I tried the pointing experiment, and basically I saw nothing at all. And I suppose, in a way I could have just said, so what, but I haven't, and I didn't, and I've kind of been hanging out since then, exploring this. It's yeah, it's really kept my interest alive.
Brilliant. Guy?
Like Charlie, I also was pointed to the Headless website through someone's blog on the internet, and I did a few experiments, and I thought, that's intriguing. For the last 20 years I've been doing a Zen sitting meditation and participating several times a year in retreats that last several days. And with just a few experiments in a few minutes, was kind of having, I want to say the word success, I don't quite mean that word, more success within a few minutes than in a whole week-long retreat that I'd often attend. And then this was all about a year ago, about a month, after a few months, I had the opportunity to attend a workshop in Toronto with Richard. And I almost didn't go because I thought there's no need to travel several hours and attend a workshop. I can do these experiments right here on my own. No need to go to a workshop. And yet, for some reason, I did end up at the workshop, and I was thoroughly pleased that I went. I was delighted, and I've since attended another workshop, so 2 workshops in the last year, and it was well worth my time and effort. And as Karen mentioned a moment ago, these webcasts or these web meetings are a real highlight of the day. And I often find that throughout the rest of the day or during the week, words that people have said on these webcasts have kind of bubbled up and resonated with me. Sometimes, many times, people say things that don't make much sense to me at all. And then later in the week, I'm like, oh, yes, that is supporting me. So let me call that good for now.
Thank you, Guy. And Doug.
Hi, I'm Doug from Colorado in the United States, and I first became exposed to the Headless Way through an interview with Catherine Harding 6 years ago now. And from that I read a number of the books of Douglas Harding, which are widely available and just brilliantly communicated and understood. I don't know, sometimes I read his material. I was just reading on being aware just in the last couple of days, and I wonder how long did it take him to actually write that, you know, and boil it down to such simplicity. And what was that process? You know, did he fumble around like I do between various modes of confusion, or did it just all spring forth as absolutely clear and simple? I'm not sure. I'd kind of like to know. But the things about the Headless Way in particular that I appreciate is both the simplicity of it. It's hard to make it too complicated, and the depth of it. It's not just something simple. It is also something very, very, very deep. And of course the community that several of us have mentioned here, the fact that we can meet and we can share and deepen our understanding together, I think is absolutely wonderful. Mm-hmm. And I invite everybody to participate in that process to the extent they can.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to continue just by drawing our attention to the experience, which is what we're all sharing, and then we're expressing it differently, and visually just noticing our single eye and looking out of this openness, and each of us has a different view. That's true, isn't it? Yeah. And something that I was thinking earlier today, or yesterday, is that when we meet physically, I said this in the meeting this morning, when we meet physically, we meet in the same room, say, and so that's our common environment. But in the video hangout, we're not in the same room. We're not even in the same country necessarily. So what is our common meeting place in this video hangout? Well, it's the great void, isn't it, in which this meeting is happening. And magically for me, you all, like I think Karen was indicating, you all kind of magically pop up out of this home, this great void, this consciousness, magically when I press a button.
What's even more magically for me is that I'm out there too. I've popped up myself, which in ordinary life is not. You know, it's like having an arm out, holding a mirror all the time. You know, so that is a very unusual aspect, but very significant actually, to really let it in. That it is like that. I think you pointed it out several times as well, but it's slowly getting to me, you know, that this is almost a more real situation than the real, so-called real situation, because that's where I am as a person out there amongst you guys.
Yes, yes, this is something I have been thinking about, how the video hangout itself is an experiment. And I look out there and I see your faces, and I also see Richard's face. And it shows me where Richard is. He's out there in the crowd. And when I look here, where I'm looking from, here I don't find Richard. I find this openness, which I'm sure you find the same when you find your image there. And we need both. And this validates my individuality, but places it not at the center. It's not here. It's out there. And I'm room for Richard as much as I'm room for Charlie and Guy and Karen and Doug. And it is in the experiments. We have the mirror experiment, where you look in the mirror and you see where you keep your appearance. And as Douglas used to say, you probably read it, thank God I'm not like that. And the video hangout is, as you're saying, it's a brilliant kind of illustration of where one's appearance is and where one's reality is.
And there's no need to put the genie out there, back in the box here.
No, it's out of the box. It's there. Yes, yes. And then, of course, it's not just what you look like; it's the voices. When I begin to pay attention to the sounds and our voices, all the voices are in this one consciousness. Is that true for you?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm finding the experiments, there's a certain number of them that we find on the website or in some books, but more and more I'm discovering not my own experiments. There's emerging, so it's not just my face in a mirror, but also my hands. Whenever I see my hands, they're out there. And then I just follow them back to where they kind of disappear. Or yesterday I was walking in a forest, and the pine trees had been planted in rows, and just walking through the rows. But you don't even need to walk through the rows of the pine tree. As I move my head here, the boundary of my single eye is constantly being redefined. It's like someone learning a language, a second language. At a certain point, they'll say that they begin to think in that language.
Yes.
They're no longer practicing the language, they're thinking in it.
Yes. I don't know if someone's typing. Is someone typing? There's a noise there.
Yeah, sorry. my dog just walked through the room. she just went downstairs.
Into the great void and out of the great void.
Yes.
I think that's very interesting about like learning another language and then finding yourself thinking in it. It just, you don't even have to try. You just suddenly find yourself thinking in that other language. And I think that's true about seeing. It just becomes natural. You suddenly realize, wow, I'm just space for what's going on now. How natural. How brilliant. In an earlier hangout, earlier in the week, and I've mentioned this before, we were talking about how people's responses are different. I must tell a story. It involves Guy, but also another friend, John. And we were talking about driving and being still as the scenery moves. And I think it was you, Guy, who said, I used to not have the radio on because I wanted to. No, I used to. Which way around was it? It was John.
I would listen to the radio while driving and be fiddling with the channels or listening to audio books for 20-some years in my commute in the morning and afternoon. And now, as I reach for the radio, I stop myself and I go, I'm going to miss out on kind of this magical driving thing. So I'm happy to turn the radio off. But then now, why don't you tell the story of what, was it John said?
Yeah, so that was your experience. You happy not to have the radio on and just enjoy being the stillness. And John then said, for years, I have not had the radio on because I wanted to try and preserve this inner peace. And now I realize I can't lose it, so I turn the radio on. And it's such opposite reactions. It's brilliant.
There's another similar opposites. As I work in my work, being with family or loved ones or in the workplace, when I'm with them now and I see my single eye and they're in my single eye and we're discussing things, I'm less aggressive. I'm more listening to them. I'm more being with them. Less need to get my point of view across or something, or put in my 2 cents. And I shared this at one of these webcasts with someone, and they said for them, now that they are seeing, they now feel the ability to speak up and to present, and to say something and to respond. And so for each of us, what has emerged, or the flowering is very much the same and different.
Yes.
A very different expression.
Yes.
So it's not like one thing, like, oh, this is what will happen when you start seeing something. No, there seems to be a whole wide range of things.
Yes. Yeah.
I guess that with seeing, I also see my fearful subjects, or my fearful patterns, or how to say that, the fears that I picked up during my life, and they get another context. That in a way, this safety here, in which I can always return, even if the fear itself doesn't completely dissolve. It changes. It becomes softer or more workable, or changes in a way that it's less, completely determining my behavior, my do's and don'ts. So I guess, yes, everybody's hang-ups, it's sort of get another perspective.
Yes. Yes.
A thing that I noticed with this headless seeing is that what I used to call a boring moment, and I think, oh my gosh, there's nothing going on here. Let's put on some music, start dancing, or create some excitement. Let's get on my bike and go shopping. I don't know what. But now, the moment the thought comes, I just shift and I just look at what is present this moment. And it's never boring. Never, never, ever boring. The most quiet, ordinary moment. There's always, it's just the fact of being alive. That's so beautiful. And it makes me really see and appreciate that. In its nakedness, you see.
Yeah.
To be alive and to be glad about it is in a way naked, and yeah.
I know. I mean, becoming aware of this, our common home, this boundless consciousness, silence, that is at the same time full, or even calling it full is inadequate. It just becomes what is happening. I mean, to be at home and to be aware of what is emerging magically now in this nothingness. I mean, it's never happened before. It'll never happen again. It's
and to be in touch with the both the life-giving aspects and the power that's available there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
what do you mean the power, Doug?
there's an energy there and a potential to act out of. It's much like parts of my experience are much like the one Guy mentioned, where there's a self-empowerment that comes with turning off the radio and the story world and my lifeline and my thoughts and other people's thoughts and how those mix together, and then working out of this frees me for action and contributions that I can't make as a hypothetical person.
Yes.
I like that. How do you say that? A hypothetical? How's the word?
Hypothetical person, yes.
Yeah, I've never heard that before. That's a good one.
Yes, I'm aware myself in my own life how I was told I could do this or I couldn't do that, and restricted myself. But with this, where I know I manifest as a person, so I'm not a tiger or a lion, but what kind of person and what can I do? Well, I don't know. And it has really kind of given me, I don't know, the courage or whatever it is. It might just taking the risk of trying new things, trying things out, and acting from here and seeing what happens. I mean, a couple of years ago, this guy I'd never met, we'd corresponded, he'd done a few illustrations, saw my film about Douglas Harding and emailed me and said we could do a graphic novel, a cartoon book on it. So I said yes. I mean, have I ever done anything like that before? We've been working on it for 2 years. I've never met him yet, but we've done more than 50 pages, and it's immense fun. Now I can say, I'm halfway through doing a book. I would never have imagined. It was just not in my kind of view of what I was going to do. So how wonderful, how creative, how it doesn't follow the rules. Fantastic. And in big ways and very small ways too.
I guess that's like, what they would call traditionally surrender to the moment or something. But there is something about surrendering to what is, as is, and that's all coming from here. That it's not my making. I can think it's my making, but actually it's not. When I really look, I have no clue. There's this stream of events and life and color, senses, the whole show coming through me, and I can want to change it. I cannot like it, or I can like it a lot. But it's wonderful. I mean, when I trust that, I'm learning to trust that more and more, and sort of hands off, or hands on when it's necessary.
Yeah.
But it's coming up with way more creativity than I would ever have thought if I would have wanted to control it, which is impossible anyways. But just as you say, Richard, unexpected, wonderful situations come up, and they're much nicer than when I would have completely created them or planned them or like that.
Yeah.
The idea of trust is interesting. I've thought about that over the last little while, and what is trustworthy, and this is really the only thing that is trustworthy. When you ask yourself, can I trust this? This is all that there is to trust. Everything else is conditional. We take for granted all kinds of things every day. If I trust that will fall. Can you see that? I trust that will fall. Gravity, but all you have to do is leave the atmosphere, and gravity is no longer that concept of gravity is no longer trustworthy. So, everything out there has its conditions of trust, whereas this is 100% trustworthy. It's the only thing, the only no thing.
And what happens when you trust it, Charlie? What would you say? What happens?
Well, I guess I would say that it's you know, well, I would say authenticity. I would say that there's an authenticity that happens there, and it's what I would say that you know, if I was to try to define what was really me, that expression of this trust is truly authentic.
Yes. Yes.
There isn't anything that I can place there isn't anything that you can't you can't describe without the experience. You know, we were talking about a language, and the vocabulary of the Headless Way is very interesting because there are many things that I've learned over the last few years, and this is a particular vocabulary that expresses something that is shared within a common experience, and I think that when I think if you're not familiar with the experience, I think that the words don't necessarily mean the same. And maybe, Richard, I think the words don't mean the same to each and every one of us. I think we all have our own interpretation of the words, and trying to come to common ground out there in the world is a whole lot different than being common here.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's very good. How would you, Charlie, just bring our attention now to that common experience?
I think you've described it several times already by noticing the common space that we're in here.
Yes.
Yeah, and that we're all within the same. We're all within the same space. Guy, you were describing about noticing your hands, and you follow your hands back up, and I, the first experiment was the pointing experiment for me, but as my curiosity took me on to other experiments, I think one of the neat ones that I enjoyed and I still enjoy is the idea of the out-of-body experience, and how you can, you wonder, people have these great mystical out-of-body experiences, and I can just plainly and obviously take a look at how my body is within me now, and
yes.
And I think that we can all see, and where does it end? It doesn't end here, but it continues with you folks there, and this room here, and.
Mm. Yes. Yes, I'm not in my body. My body's in me, and you're in me, and the whole world is in me.
Yeah.
I think it's so brilliant, isn't it, that it's not a matter of agreeing in terms of language.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to say. What I like about if this Headless Way has a particular language, then the aspect would be that it's factual, that it's based on facts. Seeing already, seeing is an example of it. It's not knowing or believing or anything. It's just seeing, and then it's meant literally. Just see, now and any moment you want to, at wish, see, and see what is true. Mm-hmm. That's great. Because when I said doubtless, I've done a lot in the past as well, but due to this curious mind, I went off on searches here and there. But this method of facts, just seeing the fact as is, that was what in the end did it, that erased all doubt, and that's good. Yeah. Because if I want to know who I am, which is unchangeable, I have to end up here, and words don't do that.
This is it's a union of opposites, isn't it? You find what is unchangeable, this space that is always full of something, but within it, all
Yeah,
the time, is bubbling up this moment.
exactly. But how easy is it to look out there and think, oh, it's this or that or such or so? I mean, it needs to be get all the way home here, here. And then, you know, I see this is the only thing that never changes.
Something that points me home frequently is when I have a desire to get somewhere, or I'm rushing, or wanting to be somewhere else, whether it's while I'm driving or getting ready to go somewhere. When I notice I'm trying to, travel across town, it's a good reminder where I go, all right, time out, take a look right now at where you're at. It switches me from the mode of I am going somewhere, getting somewhere, and always mixed in with that is a dissatisfaction, a wanting, even if it's at a small, low level, a kind of a unhappiness. Life will be better when I get home or when I get to that place. And it's not always just location, it's time too. When this next thing begins, which is somehow a good thing or something. I'm looking forward to that thing tonight or in an hour. That's another reminder to me, often, that points me back to, where is that place, or where is time? It returns me back to this place right here. It's a great, maybe the word is experiment, or for me it's a signal to take a look from what is currently in my life or visible from here.
Yes. That makes me think of the reality that what arrives in this space isn't always easy or pleasant or blissful, for sure. I mean, sometimes it's difficult and uncomfortable. Seeing that our true self, this one openness, doesn't mean life is going to be, what arises in this space is going to be always comfortable. But the reality is that discomfort is there within the space and doesn't actually disturb our common home. And the recognition of where it is, the feelings, the thoughts, the pain, although it doesn't take it away, it places it. And this, you've got to give it a go and see how it works, but it is deeply healing.
What would I do without that challenge, though? I think at times, that's the sort of in a way, it's an impetus to bring on new challenges. There's certain aspect of that I often describe myself as someone who enjoys challenges, and I take on projects, and those projects are full of headaches once I get myself involved into them, and my experience is that those, they get resolved one way or another. I'm either dropping them or I'm accomplishing things, and it's not so bad, that idea that stimulates this time out guy that says, what's going on here, because I'm thinking about that. Well, yeah, I'm always jumping ahead, thinking about where I'm going to go next. And it's in a way it's a guidance. You know, it's a useful thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. Though, you know, I think a lot of people go on the spiritual path, myself included, to get rid of stress that comes with those things you're describing, Charlie. Unpleasantness, pains, and so on. I thought, you know, once I would find the ultimate goal, so to speak, I would be happily after all. How do you say that? Ever after ever. But and it's so good to acknowledge that that's not so. That life just continues with everything in it. That just goes on. But the perspective, it's lived from another place when I remember, when I'm not forgetting. I was so enjoying reading Head of Stress because I'm in that course. The humorous way that Douglas was speaking about how the Buddha discovered his first noble truth. Life is suffering. and that is the nature of it. You know, you can't get around it. You can't.
Yeah. And doesn't Douglas say something like, you know, it took the Buddha 20 years to discover this? I mean, what took him so long? But exactly, I mean, would you really want to discover who you really are and then just sit on a beach, as it were, for years and years and years and have nothing to do? Or would you want challenges and danger and difficulties and the unpredictable and what is out of your control? Do you want to be totally in control of the whole universe and what goes on? Well, no. I mean, for about a second, you'd have had enough.
It doesn't work, for one thing.
No, that's right.
I mean,
yes.
I don't know what beach you've been on, but
I just dream of it.
The last thing you can follow on the beach, huh?
Yeah. Someone recently in a hangout was saying, but you know, I still feel kind of dissatisfied with myself. You know, I'm so critical of myself. I'm so judgmental of myself. You know, and it hasn't gone yet. And I said, well, I mean, if you've tried it for this many years, by now it's not going to work, is it? You know, if you really believe you're going to get to a point in your life when you never judge yourself or others, you know, or have any discomfort, I mean, well, phone me out when it happens, and I'm not expecting a call soon. But when you do judge yourself, you see, this is brilliant for the video hangout. Where is yourself? Myself, the one I see is not here, it's there. And I have plenty of judgments about Richard, and Richard is half the time not good enough, you know, or some of the time I'm quite critical of him. And have I been able to stop that? No. But when I notice where Richard is, he's out there. He's not here. And suddenly I'm freed of that kind of, you know, I've placed it. I'm freed of it here. And then it has a different quality, and I have much more compassion and understanding. Now, you know, what did I expect of Richard, really?
Well, and this space is a compassionate space, right? It's willing to hold everything. It's rejecting nothing. It wants to bring everything to itself and reduce that separation, both to, you know, the little me, right? I can appreciate the little me more, and I can appreciate you more, and I can appreciate, you know, Guy's trees and Burma's broom and Karen's small moments. You know, all of these can be appreciated more from here.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. A compassionate space. Yes.
Yeah.
With seeing that I'm out there, or I don't even know if that's me, where I begin and where I stop. But the out there world, things are in flux and changing and against each other. And so you used the word compassion a moment ago, Richard. I too am feeling more compassionate to things I would have called my failures. So I'm now more going, well, what do you expect from things out there in the world? You know, they're rising and they're falling and they're ebbing and they're succeeding and they're failing. There's a limited understanding of things, and so sometimes if I maybe misspeak or act poorly or wish I had done something better or made a different decision on a variety of things, I am more like, well, that's the nature of that world. You do your best and it unfolds. These words I just said can't be said if you think that's the only world, or that you are out in that, or you are living in that world. But when I don't know, maybe someone else can help me clarify these worlds, but I kind of see two worlds, one this way and one that way. And yet then I will also say simultaneously there's no separation between the two. So is it two or one? These are just words.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Yes, this.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I think the idea of putting things into those terms is just a way to help describe an experience that's just one experience, right?
Mm.
But it's nice when the idea of placing yourself and you see yourself out there. Well, what is the self that's out there? Well, I mean, all of this is here. So, okay, there, in a way, there isn't an out there and an in here. It's
that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I mean, it's just absolutely brilliant too to have an out there. I mean, to have you guys there, and to profoundly accept your reality and your individuality, and to know you're seeing me over here somewhere. I see I'm not here, but we all know what we're talking about here. And to have this kind of relationship within the one, where yet we're aware of all of being the one, and yet we're profoundly individual. And it's just, would you rather just wipe out all separation and others? Not me. I love this otherness and friendship that comes from it, and with all the costs and difficulties as well. It's just so precious.
Yeah. Yes.
Without the experience of this, words like compassion don't make sense. I remember some years ago actually looking up, well, what does this word compassion mean? And looking at the root of it and this, and how can I bring this about in my life, etc. With this experience, all of a sudden the word compassion, it doesn't have a definition. You have an understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not all the time, not necessarily. We could talk about a different concept or a different word, whether it might be forgiveness or something else. But this experience allows me to better understand that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that everyone else is actually me. I mean, I keep forgetting it most of the day in my interactions with others. But when I remember, the impact is huge. My God, it's shocking, and it's to see that the other literally happens in me. There is my arms, just as Kai said, and my legs, and the body for as far as I can see. Then there's the other body, and what is the difference? I don't know. There's no difference. So this basic truth, to see it and then to apply it when I can, well, that is the root of compassion, is it? To see there's no difference. I've never more clearly understood the fact of it than with this seeing.
Yes. Yes.
Otherwise, when I try to wrap my mind around it, or learn it as a kind of behavior, it just doesn't work, because it's not on that level.
No.
It's a fact here, and
I know what you mean. It's a kind of shock. Right now, when I look at it again and discover that the whole world is in me, I mean, not in me as Richard, obviously. Therefore, within me is the one, that I'm the one, or the one is here, or the one holds us all. 1,000 different ways of saying it. I mean, it is just a shock. It's brand new. It is bubbling up, like you just discovered, Shangri-La or something, I don't know what, but it's magic, fantastic. I mean,
and there's you're looking at these the definitions, because sometimes I find words to be so interesting. I kind of believe there's there's always something magic in the words, right? And I don't know why. I think the words were written by one smarter than all of us and left little breadcrumbs around to go ahead and find. But compassion is one of those, right? The usual meaning is to suffer with, which gets right to, Karen's. There needs to be a connection. There needs to be a oneness. It's not to feel sorry for. It's to suffer with. And then I think the definition or the experience that complements that now even more is there's a joy with.
Yes. 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 Yes.
How wonderful it is to share a simple joy of a laughing child or a playing puppy,
Yes.
and that we can share that, together. You could feel that coming together. You don't even have to have words for it. You don't have to be conscious of anything, right? When that happens, we're always uniting and coming together.
Yes.
Like it or not.
Yes.
Well, I like that idea of like it or not too, because it's this idea of having a list of virtues to live by is something that I just can't imagine how one could have a dictionary of great things to be like, and then go out on a mission to be like that. In hindsight, I can see how compassion and joy and these moments that you just described happened. I can look at them and in hindsight say that, but to actually say, okay, here's the situation now. Do I apply compassion in this situation, or just sympathy? I mean, how can you live like that? It's not a predefined existence that you can try to join in with. It's I think when you're just being genuine, those things are part of the experience, and you can recognize that.
Yes.
Well, Charlie, I tried many years to do exactly that, and it's that whole pursuit of happiness or pursuit of the right life, and it's that pursuit which doesn't work, because you're not being that. It's not bubbling up. Yeah,
you're pursuing something that already exists.
I know, what a relief to stumble on this, where you're home. You're home, and you know it. It's true and real and self-evident, and you realize that really the right things emerge out of here, or if they seem wrong, there you go. What a relief to just live from this truth and reality and freedom than have to try and put on an act.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Stumble well.
Being authentic, that can be on the list as well.
Authentic. Yes, I'm going to be authentic today.
It's such a trap, eh? And yet, on a seeker's journey, those are the concepts that were my pointers. And then, of course, I took them first for a long time from the wrong place, because I didn't have a clue. So there you go.
You know, the other thing I think about this too is that we describe things, and it's not as if it's exclusive to people who see. Like, seeing is the headless way is the seeing and recognizing this, and I've placed value on that. And I think that there's a lot of other people who aren't familiar with this and still are honest and still have the same experience. I mean, from here, this has been a way for me to have an understanding of that, and I think that there's lots of people in the world who don't have this kind of understanding of it, yet are still as authentic and genuine, and living from the heart and all that sort of thing as well. It's not a matter of segregating a particular way. I think it's just a matter of my way of recognizing this.
Yes, yes, that's so important to say. I agree there, and everyone is living from this, but you don't have to think of it in this way or use this language at all. We're all coming from here, and the thing is, when you see who you are, you can let everyone be just as they are. You're not imposing anything. You're out of the way for them as they're actually given. And really, I was, I think a week ago, I had to pick up a delivery at a depot. I waited 2 days and they didn't turn up, so I went to get it myself. And I went the night in the evening, and they found one of the 3 packages and said, come back in the morning. So I went back in the morning, right on the moment they opened. Of course, no one turned up for 20 minutes. And then it took them 2 hours to find the other 2 packages. And several, about 5, 6, 7 other people came in and were waiting. And one of them said, oh yeah, no, they're often like this. And of course, it wasn't the girl's fault at the counter. It was just the whole system was badly run. But I was just so impressed by people who were waiting. And I'm thinking, how do they handle this without seeing who they are? I mean, there I was. I knew what I had to do, just be empty in space for what was going on and do what I could. But these other, just thinking, how amazing people are, really. I mean, yeah, fantastic. And, yeah.
Yeah, that's the good thing, is it? That, going back to you, Charlie, seeing that it is this way for me and for everybody else, it's just the way it is, whether they know it or not know it, or live according to it or not live according to it, or it's just the way it is for it's not something I can say, well done.
No.
It's just, I've always been like this. And so
yes, it's not a personal achievement, is it?
Not at all. No, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be drawing to a close in a few minutes. Any final thoughts about being together here, or anything else that's on your mind to share?
No, but thank you. Yes.
Indeed, thanks, everyone.
Yes.
It's a delight to hang out together, I have to say, and to share, to share this common home. To me, that word speaks to me at the moment. You know, this common home with everyone who's watching as well, and with everyone. This is our common home. It's fantastic. Well, lovely to see you all, and we will all now magically dissolve back into the great void. Are you ready? It'll be painless, I promise. But bye-bye.
Bye-bye.